A secret project, leaked images, and a shape that looks straight out of a science fiction movie. What once seemed impossible is now being revealed. A new combat aircraft with a UFO-like design, allegedly equipped with 6th-generation technologies, full stealth, artificial intelligence, and advanced electronic warfare capabilities. But is it real or just propaganda? How could a country under heavy sanctions manage to develop something so bold? Global powers are on alert, experts are divided, and the world watches, trying to understand whether we are witnessing a revolution in military aviation or the greatest technological hoax of recent times. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Now, let's get started. Revolutionary design, UFO shape? Amid rising tensions in the Middle East and the military technology race among global powers, Iran surprised the world by unveiling the SHOCKS, a prototype combat aircraft with a design that is completely outside the traditional aviation standards. What draws the most attention, however, is not just its unusual aesthetics, but the mystery surrounding its triangular shape and futuristic appearance, reminiscent of secret projects that to this day remain subjects of speculation, conspiracy theories, and debates among experts. The SHOCKS shape completely breaks away from the conventional structure of modern fighter jets, with features resembling a flying equilateral triangle. Its design strikingly resembles vehicles mentioned in theories about alien technology or reverse engineering based on unidentified flying objects. This aesthetic immediately brings to mind the legendary TR-3B Astra, an alleged ultra-secret American aircraft, considered by many to be the product of engineering based on extraterrestrial technology. The comparison with the TR-3B is no coincidence. Both share a triangular shape, lack conventional control surfaces, such as tails or vertical stabilizers, and promise highly advanced stealth technology. The SHOCKS was also presented with a supposed radar evasion capability, or stealth, similar to the famous B-2 Spirit, the American bomber considered one of the landmarks in global stealth aviation. What makes it even more curious is the fact that Iran, despite having a solid industrial base, does not have a history of aerospace development as advanced as powers like the USA, Russia, or China. This raises legitimate questions. How did a country under heavy economic sanctions and with limited resources manage to develop such an ambitious project? Experts point to 3 possibilities: a military propaganda attempt, an experimental prototype still lacking real flight capability, or the boldest one, the use of technologies obtained by reverse engineering from wreckage of drones and captured aircraft, as happened with the American RQ-170 Sentinel drone, which crashed in Iranian territory in 2011. It is important to highlight that the triangular design is not exclusive to alien theories. It may have a logical and functional basis. This shape contributes to stability at supersonic speeds, improves stealth capability, and allows greater aerodynamic efficiency. However, in the case of the SHOCKS, the wing angles, absence of visible air intakes, and smooth finish reinforce the mystery. Is it a functional prototype, a propaganda model, or indeed a hidden technological breakthrough? Interestingly, Iran itself has a history of somewhat dubious technological revelations. Several times, the country has showcased military equipment that was later exposed as non-functional mock-ups. However, the SHOCKS seems different, both because of the careful finish of the model and the media investment in its promotion, indicating a more elaborate attempt to convey credibility. Whatever the real origin of the project, one thing is certain: the SHOCKS reflects a shift in the Iranian military scene, betting not only on military capability, but also on narrative warfare. By adopting a design close to the collective imagination about UFOs and ultra-secret aircraft, Iran triggers an emotional response in the public and puts experts worldwide on alert. Finally, the SHOCKS cannot be ignored. Even though there is no concrete proof of its flight or combat capability, its bold shape, futuristic aesthetics, and possible stealth technology represent a new chapter in how developing countries are challenging the rules of modern warfare, whether with real technology, symbolism, or a combination of both. Technologies involved in the SHOCKS. The SHOCKS represents an impressive technological leap in the field of military aviation, standing out for incorporating innovative advances that position it as a 6th-generation fighter jet with remarkable capabilities. One of the fundamental pillars of this aircraft is its state-of-the-art stealth radar, which uses sophisticated radar signature reduction techniques to ensure the aircraft is virtually undetectable by traditional surveillance systems. This radar, besides functioning autonomously to detect threats at long distances, is designed to operate in conjunction with electronic warfare systems, creating an environment in which the fighter can both identify enemies and interfere with their communications and radars, hindering their response and significantly increasing its survivability on the battlefield. Another fascinating aspect of the SHOCKS is its advanced electronic warfare capability. This ability allows the aircraft to perform complex jamming operations, such as blocking enemy electromagnetic signals, creating electronic invisibility bubbles, and manipulating adversary air defense systems. This translates into strategic superiority that enables the pilot not only to avoid detection, but also to disorient and neutralize enemy defenses, facilitating surgical strikes and increasing mission effectiveness. A possible feature that differentiates the SHOCKS from previous generations is the integrated use of artificial intelligence, AI. The application of AI in military aviation has become increasingly common, especially in high-tech aircraft, where advanced algorithms can quickly analyze the sensor data, adapt combat strategies in real time, and even operate weapon systems with greater precision and autonomy. In the case of the SHOCKS, this artificial intelligence could be responsible for monitoring complex combat environments, predicting enemy movements, and optimizing the use of the aircraft's resources, providing a rapid and effective response that often surpasses isolated human capability. In addition to electronic and software technologies, the SHOCKS also stands out for the advanced materials used in its construction. The use of special composites and metal alloys developed to absorb and disperse radar waves is crucial for the fighter's stealth capability. These materials not only reduce radar signature, but also provide greater structural strength and weight reduction, positively impacting aerodynamic performance and aircraft range. The aircraft's design, combined with these innovative materials, contributes to a silhouette that is difficult to detect by both radar and infrared sensors, further enhancing its stealth. It is interesting to note that, although the SHOCKS was developed by a nation traditionally sanctioned and technologically isolated, it incorporates concepts at the forefront of global aviation, reflecting a surprising technical capacity and significant strategic evolution. The fighter seems to bring together technologies previously exclusive to the world's most advanced military powers, raising questions about the sources of knowledge and the adaptation of existing technologies, whether through reverse engineering, clandestine acquisition, or indigenous development. In summary, the SHOCKS is not just a conventional combat aircraft, but a complex and integrated system of stealth, electronic, and intelligent technologies. Its state-of-the-art radar and electronic warfare capabilities make it a formidable threat to any adversary defense system. The likely use of artificial intelligence enhances its effectiveness and autonomy, while the special materials used ensure maximum detectability reduction. All of this positions it as a key piece in the modern military landscape, symbolizing a new era of fighter jets where technology and strategy merge to create an almost invisible and extremely lethal air force. What is a sixth-generation fighter jet? The development of sixth-generation combat aircraft represents the next evolutionary leap in the domain of military aviation. But, after all, what defines a sixth-generation fighter, and what truly sets it apart from the already impressive fifth-generation fighters, such as the United States F-22 Raptor or Russia's Sukhoi Su-57? Fifth-generation fighters are known for incorporating stealth technologies, supermaneuverability, highly integrated sensors, and the ability to operate in multiple environments with a high degree of situational awareness. They have already revolutionized aerial combat by enabling pilots to see farther, react faster, and, above all, remain invisible to enemy radars. However, even these advanced machines have limitations in the face of future war demands, which involve artificial intelligence, cyber attacks, electronic warfare, and autonomous systems. It is in this context that the concept of a sixth-generation fighter is born. Main differences and expected advances. One of the most striking changes is autonomy. Sixth-generation fighters are being designed to operate with or without a pilot. That is, they can function fully autonomously or alongside unmanned systems, such as swarms of drones controlled by artificial intelligence. This broadens the range of strategic possibilities on the battlefield and significantly reduces the risk to pilots in extremely dangerous missions. Another fundamental pillar is total system integration. While current fighters already use data networks to share real-time information, sixth-generation models will take this to a new level. They will act as flying hubs capable of coordinating air, ground, and naval attacks in sync with other platforms, such as satellites, ships, and command centers. In other words, they will not just participate in the war, they will be the brain behind it. In terms of sensors, these aircraft are expected to have detection and tracking capabilities far beyond what we know today. They will be able to identify threats across multiple spectrums, from enemy radars to ground movements or cyber signals. Additionally, they will feature electronic warfare systems capable of confusing or even neutralizing adversary communications and radars, curiosities, and technological trends. Interestingly, one of the least mentioned but highly relevant aspects is the modularity of these aircraft. Some design proposals indicate it will be possible to adapt the fighter for different mission types by quickly swapping electronic systems, weapons, or sensors. This resembles the idea of a mutant plane, shaped according to combat needs. Another interesting point is the use of smart materials and self-repairing structures. With advances in nanotechnology, researchers are developing coatings that can heal themselves after minor damage, significantly increasing the aircraft's lifespan and reducing maintenance costs. Moreover, there are high expectations regarding propulsion. Besides traditional thrust vectoring, which allows extreme maneuvers, sixth-generation fighters may incorporate hybrid engines and even experimental concepts like plasma or ion propulsion. All of this aims to achieve speeds exceeding Mach 2 with greater fuel efficiency and lower thermal signatures. The future of air combat. All these elements — autonomy, artificial intelligence, combat networks, hyper-advanced sensors, enhanced stealth, smart materials, and next-generation weaponry — come together to create an air combat system that transcends the traditional definition of a fighter jet. More than an aircraft, it will be a multifunctional technological platform, operating as a central piece in joint operations across multiple domains: air, land, sea, space, and cyberspace. While the United States, China, the United Kingdom, and countries like Japan and Germany are already in advanced stages of developing these projects, other nations, such as Iran, have surprised with ambitious announcements of their own versions, like the enigmatic Zyge 3. Although many of these claims are met with skepticism by the international community, they demonstrate that the sixth-generation concept is no longer a distant idea. It is already shaping the present. In summary, sixth-generation fighters symbolize the future of air superiority. They are a direct reflection of a world where technology decides wars, and the speed of information is worth more than brute force. We do not yet know which country will launch the first operational fighter of this new era, but one thing is certain: whoever masters this technology will hold the control of the skies. How did Iran manage to develop this fighter jet? The development of a next-generation fighter jet by Iran raises a series of intriguing questions. After all, how did a country facing severe economic sanctions imposed by Western powers for decades, along with technological restrictions and military embargoes, manage to design and build an advanced combat aircraft that seemingly rivals models developed by countries with vast defense budgets such as the United States, Russia, and China? The answer does not lie in a single factor, but rather in a complex combination of strategy, improvisation, technological intelligence, and possibly discrete collaborations with other nations. International sanctions and technological limitations. Since the Islamic Revolution of 1979, Iran has been the target of economic sanctions, especially from the United States and the European Union. These sanctions have severely affected the country's ability to acquire modern weapon systems, spare parts, and cutting-edge military technology. However, instead of paralyzing its aerospace sector, these restrictions forced Iran to become more self-sufficient. Out of necessity, the country began to heavily invest in developing its own technological base. Iranian engineers and scientists were encouraged to find domestic solutions to compensate for the lack of foreign components, which led to the strengthening of their universities and military research centers. This pressure created a culture of forced innovation, where every component or system had to be recreated from scratch or adapted from obsolete technologies. Secret partnerships? China, Russia. Despite the official discourse of self-sufficiency, many analysts believe that Iran is not completely isolated. It is widely speculated that, over the years, Tehran has maintained discreet partnerships with powers like China and Russia, especially in the area of military technology transfer. Although there are no official confirmations, there are indications that Iranian engineers have had access to Russian and Chinese projects, or at least to strategic components of their aviation systems. For example, it is believed that certain radar and avionics systems used in Iranian fighters share similarities with Chinese models like the J-10, or with Russian technologies developed for the MiG-29 and Sukhoi Su-27. These invisible collaborations could involve both the sale of outdated projects and the sending of foreign specialists for technical consultancy. In times of geopolitical tensions with the West, it is plausible that China and Russia have an interest in discreetly supporting Iran's military advancement as a way to counterbalance U.S. influence in the Middle East. Reverse engineering, a silent weapon. Perhaps the most decisive factor in the advancement of Iranian military aviation has been the extensive use of reverse engineering. This technique involves dismantling captured, damaged, or black market acquired equipment to study its functioning and replicate it with local resources. Iran has captured drones and even American-origin aircraft, such as the famous case of the RQ-170 Sentinel, a stealth drone intercepted and brought down by Iranian forces in 2011. The capture of this aircraft gave the country direct access to cutting-edge technology in terms of stealth, sensors, and avionics. From this platform, Iranian engineers developed copies such as the Shahed 171 drone, one of the current pillars of the country's unmanned aviation. There are also suspicions that Iran has obtained parts or wrecks of Western aircraft through the international black market, including remnants of F-4 Phantom, F-5 Tiger II, and even parts of F-14 Tomcat, all models that were once part of the Iranian Air Force before the revolution. These components have been used as a base for prototypes and tests. Furthermore, it is important to highlight that Iran has a long tradition of modifying old Western aircraft with national technology. The Sergei fighter, for example, is widely recognized as an adapted version of the American F-5, but with twin vertical stabilizers and other improvements. This ability to upgrade the old has been crucial to maintaining a functional air fleet despite imposed restrictions. Curiosity. War as a technological school? During the Iran-Iraq War, 1980 to 1988, the country faced a prolonged conflict that demanded extreme logistical creativity. Without access to spare parts and armaments, Iranian engineers were forced to improvise solutions, even adapting parts from tractors or automobiles for use in military aircraft. This wartime scenario consolidated a generation of highly skilled specialists capable of repairing what seemed impossible, and, over time, developing their own versions of Western technologies. International reactions to the Sergei-3. The recent announcement of the Sergei-3, the alleged sixth-generation fighter developed by Iran, has sparked a wave of reactions on the international stage. Although the Iranian government presented the aircraft as a national technological milestone, many experts and global military powers have expressed skepticism, concern, and, in some cases, even irony. But what do countries like the United States, Israel, and NATO members really think about this mysterious aircraft with a futuristic appearance and a profile similar to an unidentified flying object? For the United States, Iran remains a key piece in the delicate geopolitical chessboard of the Middle East. The possible existence of a stealth fighter with advanced capabilities, although unproven, is closely watched by the American Department of Defense. However, many U.S. analysts have classified the Sergei-3 more as a piece of internal propaganda than a real threat to Western air power. According to Pentagon sources, the project lacks concrete evidence, such as independent flight tests or public demonstrations validating its technical capabilities. Still, it is not ruled out that Iran is trying to send a strategic message, boosting its military image both for internal consumption and to impress its allies and rivals. Israel, on the other hand, takes a much more direct stance. As Iran's main regional rival, any announcement of military technological progress coming from Tehran is immediately analyzed through the lens of national security. Israeli military experts point out that although the Sergei-3's design is visually striking, its practical value remains questionable. The absence of functional proof, such as videos of aerial maneuvers or combat exercises, raises doubts about its real capability to operate in a modern war theater. Still, the Israeli government maintains alert protocols, especially considering Iran's history of developing drones and ballistic missiles capable of reaching Israeli territory. Among NATO members, the reception to the Sergei-3 was divided. Countries like France, Germany, and the United Kingdom have adopted a more diplomatic stance, avoiding strong public statements. Behind the scenes, however, the consensus among defense analysts is that the Iranian announcement is part of a larger symbolic deterrence strategy. For the alliance, the real focus is on Iran's asymmetric capabilities, such as cyber warfare, paramilitary forces, and influence over militias in strategic regions, rather than on cutting-edge fighters that, until now, have not been properly validated. But does Iran represent a real threat with this aircraft? The answer so far is ambiguous. From a technical standpoint, there is still no solid evidence that the Saigh-3 possesses the capabilities of a sixth-generation fighter, such as full radar invisibility, embedded artificial intelligence systems, directed energy weapons, or hypersonic flight. However, the mere fact that Iran can design, build, and present an aircraft with this level of visual sophistication already demonstrates a significant engineering advance, even if more aesthetic than functional. It is worth remembering that Iran has surprised the world on other occasions. A notable example was when it managed to capture a US RQ-170 Sentinel drone in 2011 using, according to them, highly sophisticated electronic warfare. Since then, it has heavily invested in the development of unmanned aircraft and long-range missiles. The Saigh-3, although still shrouded in mystery, may be part of this broader strategy of power projection and symbolic challenge to Western powers. Conspiracy theories and military propaganda. As expected, the emergence of the Saigh-3 has fueled various conspiracy theories. One of the most popular suggests that the aircraft's design is based on extraterrestrial technology or reverse engineering of captured US equipment. The unusual and angular shape of the fighter, resembling unidentified flying objects depicted on several occasions, further strengthens this kind of speculation. Another theory claims that the Saigh-3 is actually a non-functional prototype, built solely for internal propaganda purposes, aimed at boosting Iranian public morale and projecting an image of strength to the outside world. This practice would not be unprecedented. On other occasions, Iran has presented prototypes of tanks and planes later discovered to be mock-ups, visual replicas without real functionality. Finally, some believe that it is all part of psychological warfare. By presenting a futuristic aircraft, Iran forces its opponents to double their vigilance, spend more resources on intelligence, and potentially make strategic errors by underestimating or overestimating the threat. In this sense, the Saigh-3 fulfills its role well, whether real or symbolic, real advancement or strategic illusion. The question hanging in the air is as direct as it is provocative. Are we witnessing a genuine technological leap capable of reshaping the balance of global military powers? Or is it all just a sophisticated performance, a carefully orchestrated strategic move to confuse, intimidate, and misinform? This doubt doesn't arise out of nowhere. It is supported by the sudden appearance of an aircraft shrouded in mystery, with a silhouette that defies conventional aerospace engineering standards. With lines that resemble more a flying saucer than a traditional fighter jet, this machine caused immediate astonishment. The first images, almost cinematic in appearance, went viral across defense forums, intelligence agencies, and social media, generating a flood of questions, theories, and speculations. What is known so far is little, but sufficiently intriguing. Analysts point to the possibility that it might be a sixth-generation aircraft, perhaps equipped with highly advanced stealth systems, integrated artificial intelligence, autonomous flight capability, and directed energy weapons. Although many of these elements are in development stages worldwide, they are rarely seen integrated into a single platform, and even less abruptly unveiled by a power that until recently was not among the global leaders in aerospace military technology. A historical curiosity. This is not the first time the world has faced the unknown. During the Cold War, the United States kept aircraft like the F-117 Nighthawk and the SR-71 Blackbird secret for decades. Both seemed like science fiction when finally revealed. In most cases, the goal was not only to win battles in the air, but to wage a silent war of perceptions and deterrence. Showing the enemy that you have something they cannot understand nor combat is one of the oldest and most effective tactics of modern geopolitics. What makes this episode even more intriguing is the possible intentionality of the exposure. Was it an accidental leak, or was it planned to be seen? The idea that certain governments partially reveal their capabilities to manipulate the behavior of other nations is not new. In the world of information warfare, what you show can be as important as what you hide. Another curious point: Forensic image analysts already suggest that the aircraft's exotic design may be using a technique known as confusion architecture. That is, shapes and surfaces purposely built to induce wrong interpretations about what the vehicle is really capable of doing. In other words, a mix of engineering and illusionism. While the technical details remain cloaked in fog, the only certainty so far is that the conflict has ceased to be merely military. We have entered a new era of informational combat, where every image, every leak, every piece of data may have been planted as part of a much broader and invisible strategy. An era where the psychology of uncertainty and doubt can be as valuable as a fleet of fighter jets in the air. Therefore, the question persists and deepens. Are we facing a technological revolution that threatens to break the limits of what we know as modern warfare? Or are we being carefully led to believe in something that does not exist, driven by hidden strategic interests? While the world struggles to decipher the true nature of this enigmatic aircraft, with its almost alien aesthetics and still unknown functionalities, one reality cannot be ignored. The information war is already in full swing, and in it, the enemy is not only what appears on radars, but also what infiltrates minds, headlines, and global narratives. Sometimes what seems like science fiction may be dangerously closer to reality than we dare to imagine. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you enjoyed our content, please subscribe to our channel and leave your like. Also, check out other interesting content appearing right now on your screen, and I'll see you in the next video. See you next time.